is the final countdown. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Download. We are super excited to have our guest, Niki Rabren with Tier4 Group, joining us in the Download studios today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Joel, you want to say hi to the group?
Always. Nikki, glad you're in studio.
Good
Thanks.
stuff. Hey, nice hat, by the way. TPC Scottsdale, huh? Pretty nice course.
It was a great course.
Did a VIP event there a few months back.
Sure did.
Pretty good group of attendees as well, if I may say.
It was.
Yeah, good stuff. Nikki, you want to introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. I'm Niki Rabren. I'm the Executive Director for Cybersecurity and Professional Services at your sister company, Tier4 Group. And it's good to be here in the studio with you guys today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for making time. Tell us, you were just recently in South Africa?
I was. We decided there was no better time to travel than a pandemic. So my husband and I took our 12-year-old twins on a little globe-trotting tour. We have always been planning on doing this, so we'd been planning it for about 4 years. And in fact, when I first went to work for Betsy, I told her in good conscience we could not say yes and start partnering together without her knowing that I was going to be taking this leap of faith. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So our itinerary looked completely different. We were supposed to be in 4 different countries in 12 months, and we were in 2.
Wow.
But that's just the way that it went, and we got to stay a little longer in South Africa. So we were actually there for 6 months instead of our intended 3. And
That's
it was
great.
an exceptional experience.
Yeah,
I would
unreal.
highly recommend
awesome.
anyone. Yeah, if you've got the time and wherewithal. My husband just retired. It was great. We had a really good time, and it was a great education for the kids. And we had Wildlife Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we would go to the monkey farms and the bird sanctuaries, and we went on safari. I mean, it was really a good place to be.
And you also mentioned Albania. Was that the other country you lived in for 6
That
months?
was the other country. So when we left in September, Albania was literally the only country in the world that was accepting Americans. If you were from the U.S., chances were in September 2020 you weren't going to be able to go anywhere. But Albania is a really small population. They only have about just north of 2.5 million people. And in the little community that we were in, which is close to Greece, they have about 20,000 people. It swells during the tourism season, but
Sure.
when nobody was there. I mean, they literally had no tourist season last year. So we went to this quiet, sleepy town bordering Greece, and it was absolutely beautiful, cheap. They're not in the euro or in the EU yet.
Yeah.
So they're not on the euro. They're still using their currency. It was really affordable. And it felt like there were no tourists. So at least we were there spending our money and trying to have some semblance of a tourist season. But it was gorgeous. It was really, really beautiful. I'm glad we went. But yeah, that's how we went to Albania.
Albania. Joel, you ever been to Albania?
I haven't been to Albania or South Africa. I can't claim that. Nope.
Well, good stuff. My name is Jake Sherrill. I'm the founder and chairman of Tier4 Advisors. Started the company almost 9 years ago in an effort to help IT and business professionals understand what vendors do what best in a handful of categories: data center, telecom, managed services, security, compliance, and emerging tech. So if you or anyone you know has a project in any of those categories and you want to shrink your time frame internally from what could be 3, 6, 12 months down to 3, 6, 8 weeks, feel free to reach out, tier4advisors.com, or your local regional president in your regional market, which we have about 20 or so around the country. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Best thing that I saw all week. Joel, do you want to go ahead and hit that?
I do. Lumber prices are falling. So from their all-time May high, they're down 41%, which is a significant amount. It's still not back to where it was pre-pandemic levels, but the fact that it's dropped 40%, as a DIYer, my wife and I like to do a lot of home projects, along with millions of other people during the pandemic that did a bunch of home renovations. Good for them. It's good news for home buyers or home builders at this point, because the costs have inflated way too much, 30, 50 grand into a home for what you would have been able to purchase 6 months prior to the pandemic, just because of the cost of inflation and wood prices. So that was the best thing I saw all week, is that it's starting to regulate and even out a little bit.
So that's an interesting point. Is that the beginning of what will be a softening real estate market as well, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not an economist, but I think there will be some influence in how, the cost of homes, the demand for homes, but I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. But I think that over the next couple of years, it might cool off a little bit, and rightfully so. I think it's a little outrageous the way it currently is right now.
Best thing that you saw all week, Nikki? What was it?
So my daughter and I, during the pandemic, she was a little anxious early on about all the news coming out. And so this week, there was a story about a guy he's an animator by career, and he created this little cartoon about a dog and a stray cat becoming best friends. And I won't spoil it for you, but he also wrote a song called about two things that go together, and it was chocolate cake and ice cream, or two things that are just better together. And this is a story about. So anyway, we've been watching that. Of course, it's an earworm. I have the song stuck in my head, and I can't get it out. But that's the best thing I saw.
I have two things, and I'm going to go ahead and do that because I'm
You always do. You always have
the guy at the mic here. So the team that I coach, the 11U team here in North Atlanta for baseball, again, well documented that I am a youth sports coach, and I try to give back the best that I can while also running some other businesses. But nonetheless, we won the State of Georgia World Series tournament last week, so that was pretty exciting. We'll post a picture here, but that was super exciting. Also, shout out to some family members and friends who moved to Charleston, South Carolina. The grand opening of their restaurant. It's been a long time coming, 8 years as a matter of fact. They're trying to find the right thing, right location, and right type of food and whatnot. But they grand opened their restaurant on the 29th of June, which was super exciting to see them do that as well. So two of the best things I saw all week, and again, I'm allowed to do that, I guess, Joel, right?
Sure, why not?
Whatever. So, Nikki, tell us a little bit about Tier 4 Group, if you would, please. I kind of skipped over that a moment ago, but can you give our viewers and listeners an idea of what Tier 4 Group is, how you and Betsy work together, when Betsy founded the business? Obviously, it used to be called Robinson Key, and then we rebranded it. Things like that. Could you, 4 or 5 minute commercial?
Absolutely. So it's so funny because I've known both you and Betsy for about the same amount of time, maybe Betsy a little bit longer, but before your companies came together. And Betsy started Robinson Key about 10 years ago or so, and she and I used to compete against each other when I worked in the IT staffing industry as well. And so that's really the bread and butter part of the business, is the staffing group that she built. And then she came together with Jake to basically take the consulting component that you guys were doing in the procurement space, and she now has formed Tier 4 Group, and I have come in to kind of help grow the professional services and really start the cybersecurity practice that we've had for about 18 months now, and it's going gangbusters. And so what we do in the cyberspace is we have a consulting practice where we're helping companies build capabilities. We do penetration testing, improve whatever function that they're trying to improve, whether it's SOC operations, vulnerability management. We can get into all that. We do have a managed service solution that we represent, and we also have a value-added reseller component that's security focused only.
It's really exciting. If you're in IT, or if you're in the financial aspect of your business, or you're running the operations of your business, it really is critical that you understand the components of different vendors out there. Tier 4 Group can obviously help you do that in making sense. So again, you have the blue company, right? Tier 4 Group, which is where Nikki and Betsy are, and then you have the red company, Tier 4 Advisors, which is where I am full-time, while still helping out sometimes at Tier 4 Group here and there as well. So not to confuse the situation, but we are here to help you any way we possibly can, whether it's finding and retaining talent or looking for your next vendor for your next project, whatever it might be. But that makes a lot of sense.
And it ultimately came about just with the intent of saying yes more often to both sets of clients. And so being able to offer the Tier 4 Advisors offering and the Tier 4 Group offering, it just allows us to say yes more often to the needs of our clients.
It really does, and it's interesting to see, right? Because oftentimes we'll go do a project here at Tier 4 Advisors, and the end goal is transformation, bettering the organization's IT posture, strategy, and oftentimes what that involves is some sort of headcount need or job placement need, professional services, what have you, and then vice versa. You guys oftentimes will place people when companies are going out and doing a large hiring exercise or what have you. They're looking for transformational projects, months after those people find the water cooler and get their sea legs underneath them. But it's one of those, kind of circle of life, as they say, and saying yes more often type of partnerships.
Well, and we tell customers that you guys are as much a strategic partner for us. And we have a number of partnerships on the professional services side. They're very boutique focused, so they're doing something very narrowly defined and doing it very, very well. And I think on the procurement side, that is you guys in spades, right? I mean, there is no better partner that has the breadth of partners that you're, solution providers that you guys work with, and that have as, the objective position on the market to be able to kind of advise for clients for some really big deals like, communications and data centers and all of those things that are not necessarily recurring initiatives,
done
right?
all the time.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, yeah, it's amazing to have you guys as part of that portfolio.
And we've said this a few times, but the average IT professional does 1 or 2 data center projects in an entire career.
Right.
And it's hard to
Right.
expect yourself or your team members to be an expert in something that you're doing once or twice in a 30 or 40-year career.
That's right.
And I share this as an analogy, but I could probably figure out how to go build a home and do a lot of the work myself. I do a lot of stuff online,
Right.
watch videos,
Right.
whatever. And if I had the time and the energy, I could probably go build my own home.
Right.
However, there's a time and a place to admit that's probably not the best
Call
use
in
of
an
my
architect.
time, right?
A contractor.
So I'm going to let the architects who've done this for 40 years do it.
That's
I'm going to
right.
let the general contractor who's been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years do it.
Right.
Let the subs, the plumber, so on and so forth. So there's a time and a place to do things yourself with all due respect. But again, the business model of what we are and what we do is there for a reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's great.
Tell us and our audience about your very first ever job that you had.
My first job, I was a lifeguard when I was
nice.
16 years old.
All right.
Here's what's funny about that is of course, like any teenager, I didn't want to go work in a fast food joint. So, and I was from a relatively small community. So the job options, there wasn't a business office I could go hang out in.
Yeah.
So I thought lifeguarding would be super, super, cushy and what a great job, really easy. Let me tell you, getting that lifeguard certification is the real deal. Yeah. It's hard, and it's very difficult. And so, and just being a lifeguard in general, I had to take care of the pools. For anybody that has a pool, or you don't have anyone that manages it for you, you can know what a pain in the neck that can be.
Yeah. Where did you grow up? Where was that at?
I grew up in Alice, Texas,
Okay.
which is
Where's that at?
it is south of Corpus Christi, so
Oh,
it's kind
wow.
of close to the
water.
close to the water, close to the border. Yeah.
Close to the border, yeah. Good stuff. Is the water pretty over there? Is it like 30A North Florida?
No, it's not at all. In fact, my husband and I, our third date, because we dated long distance, was a 10-day trip to Costa Rica.
Okay.
Way back in the day.
Yeah.
And he grew up in South Alabama, so he grew up going to Destin and all
Gulf
of that
Shores and all
beautiful
those
water.
Nice water,
Exactly.
nice sand. Yeah.
So we're standing in the Caribbean in Costa Rica, and he says, I guess when you grow up in the Gulf Coast, which technically I grew up in the Gulf Coast, and he said, I guess you get spoiled. And I thought, what part of the Gulf Coast did you grow up on? I had not been to Destin yet.
You didn't know.
I didn't know. I had no idea. And so the first time that I went to the Emerald Coast, I thought, oh my word, this could
it's
be anywhere.
unreal.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
So is the water
absolutely
brown? Is it
It's
kind of
brown,
Yeah,
and
the beach is kind of gritty too, like shelly, rocky.
it's not
dark-
so much rock, but it's very dark, coarse sand.
Gotcha.
And our biggest challenge on the Texas Gulf is all the oil drilling off
Yep.
the coast. I grew up getting tar out of my swimsuits when that's what going to the beach was for me growing up, was just not this
Interesting.
pristine experience that we have now.
terrible.
It's terrible. It's awful.
We're not trying to poo-poo on the Corpus Christi area, but there are different beaches out there, just for our audience. Yeah, there's some nicer ones on the Emerald Coast is a great spot.
South Padre, which is
I've actually heard great
Brownsville,
things about
that
that.
is
I've
beautiful.
heard really
That
good
is
things about
different.
that.
Yeah, and that's a little bit more of a protected area. Corpus Christi is a big city, and there's a lot of oil refineries, and
Yeah.
so that's why the drilling gets a little close to shore. So yeah,
Cool.
Yeah,
So, lifeguard, how did you get into the IT field?
right. It's like the $1 million question. I was in a case competition my senior year in college. In a case competition, it was sponsored by Electronic Data Systems, EDS. And so I went to this case competition. My team and I won. and they offered me a job.
Wow.
And, at the time I was interviewing for all these, because my background's marketing. And so I was interviewing for all these consumer packaged goods and retail companies. I never really thought about going into IT, but they made a really compelling, offer. And it was not going down the traditional consulting route. I was actually working in a business unit. I was in the healthcare business unit. I got to be a lot closer to customers in terms of what kinds of services were we bringing to them to help them run their businesses. And it was interesting. So yeah, you talk about
great.
Dallas. I lived in Dallas for 6 years. So
Yeah.
that was my stomping ground.
Yeah, good stuff.
Nice. The IT industry is kind of always changing, right? There's, I feel like every 6 months there's a huge revolution, it seems like. But, what is it about the IT industry that you personally enjoy the most?
I mean, the variety for sure. I think because technology changes so quickly, there's always a new way to solve a problem. And the way that you solve a problem today is so different than what you did 5 years ago, sometimes even 18 months ago, just depending on the technology. And I think that's true for cybersecurity right now. I mean, there's so much investment in this space, and there are all these different solutions that are coming out, and, AI is such a big thing, and what's proven and what's not. And that's, to me, what I think has really been true for the 20 plus years that I've been in technology, is just the pace of change just keeps accelerating a little faster.
It's wild, isn't
Yeah.
it? It really
Yeah.
is.
So, greatest professional accomplishment over your career, what would you say that is?
Over my career, it feels like a long career. We were talking about this before we started.
It's not that
speaking.
long, by the way. It's not that long.
Feels like it. I think, honestly, because when Betsy and I came together and I said, yes, this is absolutely a great vision to branch out into the professional services space, to focus on cybersecurity. We can do this. Of course, we had no idea about COVID, which was right around the corner.
Right. Yeah.
And, honestly, the fact that our business not only survived, but it is definitely thriving in spite of a pandemic. And there were a lot of things that were driving that. I think the remote workforce, the security concerns, things of that nature. But it's no joke. I don't think that we felt as confident that we would be where we are today.
Right.
Back in April of 2020, we were a little nervous. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we kept this going, and the fact that I was able to contribute and lead people from being half a world away was pretty phenomenal. I think Betsy was probably more nervous about that than I was. But
Sure.
but yeah, no,
Cool.
I think I'm pretty excited that we've done as well as we have in the last 18 months.
You did it, and I applaud you in doing that. Half a world away is not easy to do, even if
not.
everyone is working remotely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So, on the flip side of that, what's been one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome throughout your career?
I think the older I get, the more comfortable I am kind of acknowledging the fact that being a woman in a technical space where it's so male dominated. And it's funny because EDS was like that, but they kind of had this reputation for being this, militaristic culture. They did all their recruiting out of the military, and it was very, very male dominated. Not a ton of diversity when I was there. And so I just kind of thought that was natural. I think as I've worked in other places, I start to understand that the gender dynamics really are very different. I think men and women bring different strengths and to some degree different liabilities to the table. And so being able to feel very comfortable that, because I'm not more aggressive, or because, they're just different personality traits or even styles of working. I think that's not something that most women are comfortable acknowledging, but I think is certainly something that I'm really proud of where I've come, the customers that I've helped, the problems that we've solved. I mean, I do think that there are traits that I have, whether it's, communication or being able to, kind of listen a little bit more empathically. Those are things that my customers benefit from, and they recognize that. So I think that I definitely want to try to encourage that of my kids, to be able to be cognizant of the differences and to be proud about who you are.
Absolutely.
That's great.
When I decided to partner with Betsy, one of the things that I loved about not only Betsy but her team was that it was female dominant, right? Mm-hmm. There was a lot of women that worked there. And I got to be honest, some of my best clients in the world are females.
Yeah.
It's so, and we're of a younger generation.
Right.
You know, I say we, you know, most of Tier 4 Group and Tier 4 Advisors are of a younger generation that, candidly, we don't think about it being a man or a woman or, you know, race or creed. Or
Right.
I think the younger generations think differently in that sense of, you know, candidly, we're all the same in,
Right.
you know, in respects and, you know, capabilities and things like that. But I love what a female-dominated company does out in the marketplace, because, you know, I think females are much more nurturing. I think, you know, for the most part, people enjoy talking with females more than they probably like talking with males at times, especially in a sales role.
Right.
And, you know, I think there's a lot of benefits there.
Yeah.
So I think it's wonderful.
Good.
So shifting the gears here a little bit more to the Tier 4 Group kind of conversation, as the Executive Director of Cybersecurity and Professional Services, what new trends are you seeing within the security space that organizations should be paying attention to and aware of? And Jake, I'll let you chime in here too, but I'll kind of lead off with that question, Nikki.
I think it's not as much of a trend, but I think it's just the anxiety factor is increasing a lot. So most of our conversations are about ransomware and, you know, how do I know? I've invested so much of millions of dollars in technology. You know, what can I do? What am I not doing? And it really, it's beyond just an assessment of your organization. And so I think that's the conversation that we're having. We offer incident response preparation, you know, tabletop exercises. One of the things, and I know this is something that we wanted to talk about, I'll just get in there and throw it out. I'm so proud that we have so many incidents that we've partnered with clients. And you got to remember, this is when somebody has an incident, it is, you know, you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know if you're going to get millions of dollars extorted from you, your data. I mean, the things that are happening right now are truly the things that movies are made of.
Yeah.
And so we've got a number of clients that we've stopped ransomware from executing in their environments. A lot of it is all about opportunity meets preparedness, right? So for clients that we have worked with to say, this is what your plan needs to look like, these are the processes that we need to follow. You know, obviously you get a head start on when you get the call to say, hey, I think we've been breached, and being able to work through those problems with those clients. It's the ultimate adrenaline, not to say that our team loves that moment, but they're very, very good at managing through that adrenaline.
They're built for it and they thrive on it, right? Where other organizations, it's chaos and it's like probably the worst time in their corporate mode or corporate business. Like, this is where Tier 4 Group excels and can help.
We have some phenomenal forensic analysts. Our lead forensic analyst actually was the guy that was in charge of the city of Atlanta breach. And so, and this is just what he does. There is no one better at this space. And I think what we often provide there for customers is there's not a, expensive tens of thousands of dollars retainer in order to work with us. We actually do what we call a $0 incident response retainer, where contract with us. Obviously, there's an hourly fee to engage our services once there is a breach. But in that $0 retainer, we'll make sure that you've got an incident response plan, that we've had the conversation about, what the chain of command looks like and how it's all going to go. Again, it's opportunity means preparedness, but we've been able to stop some pretty scary things from happening for clients.
A little bit of background detail on some of the projects that you've worked with clients and some of the results you were able to drive for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a number of customers in the healthcare space, more on the professional services side, less on the cybersecurity, although we probably, some of those healthcare companies out there should call us for the healthcare work, because healthcare is one of the most attacked industries that are out there.
Right.
Manufacturing is a big one. And so there are, again, I mentioned the customer where they had an incident, found out that the threat actors had been in their environment for a number of months. So we came in, summer, fall timeframe. Those threat actors had actually been in there since this early spring. And so just through some of the forensic assessments that we were able to do, help them really figure out how to configure some of the tools. That's something that we see a lot of, is companies will buy all of this technology, but it's not deployed everywhere that it needs to be deployed, or it's not integrated. There's no central logging system, right, to be able to correlate logs and really look at some of the warning signs that are coming out. And so we've been able to do that for customers, which, you could make the case that if you do it right, then you're going to stop the threat actors from coming in. But certainly, as I mentioned, once they're in, we've been able to help a number of companies kind of stop that activity. And that grows into other things, being able to perform cyber operations. One of the cool things that we do is when we're a managed service partner, we're not just doing the 24/7, 365 monitoring, right? We're doing the monitoring. We're combining that with vulnerability management. We're combining that with cyber threat intelligence and incident response. So it is truly a managed service of an entire cybersecurity function, as opposed to just one, specific capability that's a part of it. And that's, I think that's important, because a lot of the very narrowly defined services, right? It's not that a company can't do all of those things, but just by the nature, that's how we've designed our service. And I think clients, even after the fact, are like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about getting that from one place. I thought I had to kind of, continue to kind of expand services in the contract, and that's just not the way that we work.
What about a client that says, I'm having a challenge finding and retaining security talent? Maybe they're a smaller to mid-sized company. They, the thought historically was always, building it is better than buying it, right? But I think that has changed.
It has changed
in the last couple of years, even for Fortune 500 companies.
It has changed.
Where the finding the talent and then even the retaining of the talent is damn near impossible. Would you agree with that? And how 100%. Do you help people try and make sense of that? Is it just a pure, outsource everything security to, a vendor to do that, or what?
No, it's a very good question. I think that there are certainly roles that you want to have in-house. I think having a whether it's a CISO or a director level person, or somebody who is, we're seeing maybe they're a direct report to the CIO, or maybe they're not even reporting to the CIO. They report through, the general counsel. I mean, that the relationship between the CISO and where they fall inside the IT organization is definitely changing. So there are certainly strategic roles that you need to have in-house. And then it's a matter of, even when you have a larger team, like cyber threat intelligence is a great one. More and more companies are recognizing the need to build that capability. They might have a threat analyst or two, but then to be able to say, hey, come in and help me augment what I have, whether that's through software that we can bring to them, or whether that's a combination of software and helping them perfect a better process, or maybe there's a component of it that we own. I mean, I think security is really becoming much more of a collaboration between in-sourced and outsourced partners. It's got to be, because, you can throw it all over the fence, but then there's obviously the cost factor there. And then, but more and more, there's a value factor. And are you really getting the value for what you're spending? And do you feel like that capability is an extension of my team?
Very, very well put. I think everybody has questions about security and compliance, whether it's IT, whether it's finance, whether it's the business and operations silo. Everybody, I should say, nobody wants to be on the front page of the Wall Street Journal for the wrong reasons.
Correct.
Right? And you see that, oftentimes the strategy, the budget, the willingness to do certain things just isn't there. I think that is changing. Hopefully it's getting better for a lot of folks out there. But boy, it's the wild, wild west out there in IT security right now.
It is a little bit. It is a little bit. But you know what? You talk about attrition and, can you afford to hire people? Some of the things that Betsy does that I think are phenomenal are way beyond just putting somebody in a seat. She is as much an advisor on the onboarding process, how to retain. She is a trusted advisor with every single customer that she has, which, quite frankly, in talent, I think is something to be celebrated, because a lot of IT staffing organizations look at it very transactionally, right? And that's just not what we do. I mean, every aspect of what you're putting out there, whether it's a piece of software or it's people behind the process, they're all strategic components of your business.
100%. Tier4Group.com, Betsy, Nikki, the entire team over there. You can find them on LinkedIn. You can find them on the web. Reach out to Tier4 Advisors. If you don't know anybody at Tier4 Group, we can introduce you. Phenomenal group of individuals, seasoned professionals, trusted advisors, people that if you don't know, you should. feel free to reach out to them any way you can. All right. At the end of every podcast, we spin the wheel. Nikki, so you are in studio. Would you like to spin the wheel? It's our version of Price is Right.
All right.
I'm Bob Barker. Welcome to the Price is Right.
Oh, when I was a 10-year-old, this would have been my dream.
That's right. That's right.
We've done this like 13, 14 times
I
now.
can't-
I still get like anxious
I can't
about,
see
like,
what
what's
it
the
lands
question?
on.
What's the question? Number
11. Wow, interesting, because we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. Best concert you've attended. Number 11, best concert you've attended. You guys think about this for a second. I think I'm going to go ahead, because I feel like I've answered this one before, but I'm going to go ahead and choose one right now. It was when my wife and I first got married. We got very inexpensive tickets to the Sandbar at a Kenny Chesney concert at the University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. And I got my cowboy hat that I was wearing for the picture of this podcast signed by Kenny Chesney in front of everybody. It was awesome. How about yourself?
Okay, I love concerts. This is very difficult, and I actually have like this whole rating system for a concert.
You're like me. You've got 5 or 10, you could probably say.
Well, I mean, how long do they perform? It's stage production, right? Is it just somebody stands up there
and just
sings? Can they cover other people's music and make it sound like their own? So concerts are kind of a big thing. And honestly, there's so many people that could be on this list, but the concert I have to say, though, is because my husband will probably be watching this, would be seeing Tony Bennett in 2004 at Chastain here in Atlanta.
Wow.
Because that's where we got engaged.
Cool.
We got engaged at the Tony Bennett concert. It rained. It was really a
like a spiritual
horrible event.
Oh, no, it was terrible. Okay. I thought she was going to say something.
We had this photo, and we were so happy, and he was so mad because it rained, the weather didn't cooperate, and, he had wanted to try to get, Tony Bennett to have some kind of shout out, and his people backstage weren't having it.
Nothing. Oh, man.
So the night didn't go the way that he wanted, but I kept telling him, at least I said yes.
But you got engaged.
We got engaged.
Cool. Joel, top that. Good luck.
So for our third or fourth wedding anniversary, my wife and I went to Michael Bublé. If you haven't seen him in concert, he puts on one heck of a show. Just top notch. It was great. And being an anniversary, we spent a little bit extra money for nicer tickets in the arena, and it was a great show. Great.
I'm going to quote Family Man, the movie with Nick Cage. I'm taking my baby out. Damn the costs. That's what you got right there for the anniversary.
There you go.
That's right.
I've seen Michael Bublé a couple times. Fantastic entertainer.
He is great.
Unbelievable. Whether you
great.
like his music or not, if you want to see talent, he's got talent.
Great show.
All right, we're going to wrap things. If you or anybody you know has a project that Tier 4 Group or Tier 4 Advisors can help you out with, you can find us at tier4group.com or tier4advisors.com. We're going to cut this short. Hopefully we'll see you next time on another episode of The Download. Thanks a lot. Take care.